Hello everybody, welcome to today's video, which is to do with supply and demand. A very popular subject, probably one of the most important ones to start looking at in economics, marketing, and generally any business course. And I'm going to teach it in a method that you probably haven't heard, but yet it's so obvious, so basic, yet I feel so important as well. 6 different key elements that I'm going to go over on supply and demand. Go over each one of them within 2 different markets. One, precious metals, gold, silver, that kind of jazz, and currency. Also refer to other different things like apples and oranges and stuff like that as well. And so currency, I'm gonna stick with precious metals first, then go to currency. But I should state now, if you don't know what fiat currency is, maybe you don't know what fractional reserve lending is, you may be a little lost in this video, which is fine. But I would highly recommend that you learn about fiat currency first, and my best recommendation for such within video is the search Zeitgiest Federal Reserve. I think that's an amazing video. That would be my recommendation for that, and watch that video and come back and we'll be ready to go. Okay, 6 different key elements. The first one, suppliers, which pretty much basic as it sounds. Whoever has something to supply to anyone else, whether that product may, whatever it might be, you're a supplier. So in gold and silver, you got companies like APMEX, Gameville Coins that are supplying online, as well as other brick and mortar ones like Kitco, and they're your suppliers. You got government mints like the Perth Mint, Canadian, U.S. Mint, South Africa, and so many other ones. There are suppliers as well. Coin shops, you got a coin display, obvious there. An average Joe or everyday person puts an ad on eBay or is just actively looking to sell, they are suppliers. What is it that suppliers are looking for or want and that suppliers do not want? Well, what they want is they want demand to be high, because without demand there's just nothing to trade. But they don't want demand to get too high where it becomes problematic. For example, if I'm selling oranges and I got 100 available, maybe I have an employee that's helping me out within it, then I could end up having a situation where there's thousands of people that want it, and now there's going to be riots and fights amongst my booth because everybody wants it. These are headaches I don't want. And then you got the issue of stockouts, which is never good for business as well. And you can even notice this within gold and silver sometimes. Earlier this year, both the Canadian and U.S. Mint stopped selling their silver for a significant amount of time because the demand got way too high. So that's suppliers, that's the first one. What they don't want is demand to be so bad that they have to pretty much quit business. Demand is so low that I got these 100 oranges and I got rid of 3 of them. Well, my employee's getting laid off, bye-bye, maybe I'm going to have to shut down business. So obviously that's what they do not want. Secondly, the second of 6 is, well, you got supply, and what's the next one? Demand, demanders. These are people that are demanding what other people are supplying. And in the case within gold and silver, maybe you are protecting yourself from a currency collapse, so you are demanding to get gold and silver. Fair enough. What do demanders want? What do they not want? Generally speaking, demanders want supply to be high so that it's very easily to get. And with higher supply, that means the price curve will be lower. And of course, generally speaking, they want lower prices. After all, if you want a washing machine, you're looking around and you see, oh, 35% off, sweet deal. You like that. Now, it seems as if in gold and silver, it seems as if there are people that like to buy high and sell low. Well, I don't know why that's the case for the psychology reasons, but there's a lot of people that are still waiting for price dips as well. The third of the 6 key elements that I'm going to talk about is consumers. Now, please forget about the way you know of consumers in this case, or how CNBC would refer to it. You'll hear things about consumer confidence. Forget that. I personally think, as an opinion, that it is a mock towards the human race to even be considered that of a consumer. But in this case, for supply and demand, consumer is consuming the product. Sort of like this water here. There's a supply of water, but I drink a little bit. What I drank was now just been consumed. You eat an apple. You buy an apple, you demanded it, you got it, you ate it, you consumed it. So in silver, how would silver be consumed? Because if you're buying it to hold, you're not consuming it by any means. But if you're in the business where you're making solar panels or in any type of industrial business within it, you would be consuming it. Thus, the silver is gone, and you have solar panels, as an example, added to the supply market. That's number 3. Number 4, I'm going to use the word holders. You could use inventoriers, hoarders. People that have the supply with no genuine intent at the moment of distributing it or putting it towards the supply. Excuse me. So you buy your silver and you put it in the safe. That's holding it. That's the 4th one. The 5th one, we're going to call fencers. You've been on the fence to do something, but you're not ready to do anything yet until certain criteria come in place. So an example with this is, and I've said this on my channel on the chart analysis, is I'm waiting for a large move down or a confirmed bull market. Neither one has taken place right now. So if silver goes down to say 21, 22, 23, at that point I'm going to be a demander. I'm going to be looking to buy, but right now, no. And if we see any confirmation of a bull market, then I'll be in the market again. But until that's the case, no. And you could use it for being a supplier as well. I got all this silver, but I'm not selling it right now. I'm a holder, we'll say, but I'll liquidate it if the price goes to a certain level, or if my weekly conditions come into play, if I lose my job, any of that type of stuff. Those would be the type of facets within that one. And the 6th and final one, leavers, exiters, bye-bye, you're no longer in the phrase in the supply and demand market. And let's use an example of when silver crashed back a couple years ago from 50 down to 30. Now what occurred then was a lot of people panicking and scared, and I remember reading some of the comments on videos I made back then where they're like, I'm totally out of this. So what happened was, let's use an example, someone had 40 ounces of silver and they left. Well, first they were worth 40 ounces in the hold position, and then that 40 ounces, say they put a sale on eBay for auction, they became suppliers, and then they said, once I sell this, I'm done. Then they became exiters or leavers. They were totally done within the market. So those are the 6 ones there. Now what I want to do is go over those 6 items again with silver, but how would they play out if there was a move down to 20? And for hypothetical purposes, and this is normally how it would be, let's assume that the move to 20 occurs on a Friday, and it occurs on like a 20-30% down day. Say it starts off at 23.5 and it closes at 20. Big, big, big move. What would happen on the supplier side of scale? We have companies like APMEX whom hedge the markets by shorting the silver market when they buy and then covering the shorts when they sell to you. Now after we're done this and during this as well, we'll talk about how supply and demand gold and silver is really artificial, which is obviously going to cause problems. But the suppliers of the physical metals from APMEX, maybe Gainesville Coins, and at least APMEX has said this before, will say, due to volatility, we will not be selling or buying any precious metals this weekend. So at that point, if that were to occur, APMEX would go from being a supplier to being a holder. Thus, there's less supply available at that time to be had, if you will. You'll have coin shops, and many of them will say, you know what, maybe you say the price is going to 20. I know what it's worth, and I'm not going to sell it for even 23, 24. I'll put my price at 32 for my Maples and Eagles. Take it or leave it. I would rather hold and keep the silver than sell it at 25, but quite frankly, they would say, or some may say. So you get a lot of that coming into play. And when we look at the point of how many holders are going to be liquidating, probably not too many, although the fear factor will affect some of them along the way. Now, as far as the demanders are concerned, I'd have to say the demanders would rise a lot higher. So many people are waiting to load the boat, back up the truck, and get as much as they can when those prices are depreciated as much as they are. So you have an increase in demand and a decrease in supply at the same time, which would most likely cause a massive disconnect, which would be placed within the premium of the silver cost. After all, the price that is done is artificial, in that the major four institutions and other players of the paper game, quote unquote, are driving the prices within it. See, for Amex doesn't care what the prices are because they're just getting their $3-4 premium, and that's that for them. But because they don't want to find out Sunday night, Monday morning that the price gaps up to 23 and they sold it and now they have to cover their shorts from when they sell at a higher price, they don't want to do that, which is why they would suspend sales for that particular weekend. Now, as far as consumers are concerned within this, which is actual use of the product, those who make solar panels, jewelry, within medicine and all industry, it wouldn't really affect them at all. It would pretty much change nothing. Holders, me myself, I'm a holder, and I would stay and remain that to be a holder. And there'd be some people, like I said, who are supplying it, like, you know what, this is going back in the safe because damn it, prices are just too cheap, which, like I say, would really hurt the inventory available. Fencers, there we go. A lot of people waiting to buy there. Boom, they waited, it's there. Now they're demanders. So that would be the key thing that would happen. In leavers, exiters, yeah, there'll be some, but I don't think enough to justify for what I'm talking about to be not taking place. All right, so again, before we go into currency, I'm going to talk again a bit more on how the markets move, because silver's a finite supply, as is gold. Now, the derivative paper game, electronic, digital game, it pretty much isn't finite. It's, yeah, technically it's finite, but it's as unlimited as they can possibly do, which can get out of hand for the amount of paper contracts versus the amount of real silver out there. It's totally way off. So something's got to give, and something will give within time, as people, of course, are waking up to how currency is created, and that's where we're going to be moving to next. Currency. Let's go through these 6 items and talk about that within currency. Who are the suppliers of fiat currency? Do you have the answer? I think I know what you said. And I got 3 major suppliers, and I think the one you said is one of them. And that would be banks, central banks, and or governments as the ones you'd be thinking of. Which is true, they are a supplier. After all, central banks, they loan out currency for debt. Think about it. They create currency out of thin air, and then you give them, you basically, in a mortgage, that means your death pledge. So you give them your pledge to say, I will pay you back with interest. Of course, interest can't be paid back on the macro level. Thus, interest guaranteed, thus debt guaranteed, thus terrible economy. But they're the ones that are supplying it to people who bring out loans. The second supplier would be businesses, corporations. They supply it to other businesses and corporations to do business. And they supply it to their employees because they need to get paid. And the third major supplier of fiat currency is your everyday individuals like me, myself, yourself, and well, anybody else on this planet. Because anytime you go to your grocery store, you buy groceries and you give them your currency, either from your checking or savings account, or you give them paper rectangles, you are supplying them with currency. So those are the 3 suppliers. As far as demanders are concerned, well, the exact same. The exact same 3 major suppliers are the exact same 3 major demanders. For as governments and central banks, well, governments are demanding that you pay taxes and other miscellaneous things of that nature. Central banks demand that you pay that loan back with interest. And then you have businesses, they demand it within everyday sales from you, the consumer. I hate using that word consumer. humans. And that's, okay. And then, of course, the people, they demand it with their jobs, with their work. They demand it whenever they have a yard sale and they want to sell something off. So you got this whole mix of everyone supplying and demanding the exact same thing. And remember that these businesses, central banks, are there to make a profit in a item of currency which is only going to cause debt. Thus, when the rich get richer in this sense, it again causes economic problems. So you see how many people are out of work or are working at extreme low wages and having problems in this world. There's a big reason, of course, because of that. So therefore, we also can talk about consumers, but I'm going to wait on that one, as well as fencers and leavers. And holders within currency is very strong. Any currency that you have in bank accounts, well, maybe at this point you don't want to trade it yet, so I'm holding it. But if I ever want to buy something, well, then that portion will then become my supply, which of course the company would be demanding. And stock market, if you got stocks, that's currency as far as I'm concerned, but it's in its true holding form because you genuinely cannot spend it any time for a decent amount, but you can only cash it for one item, and that's currency. If there's anything else you can cash it for, I wouldn't count it as currency. But that's all you can sell it for, or all you can buy it for is in currency, so that would be part of holding. So therefore, let's go back to what suppliers and demanders want, don't want, because we're going to go out, we went to the situation of what happens to silver if it goes down to 20. We're now going to go to the situation of these 6 elements on a mass awakening to how currency is created, to how 6 of these would play out. So let's do that. Let's do that. Start off within the suppliers again. We're in a situation where over, we'll say in this case, hypothetically, a short period of time, a week or a month, there's been a large influx of people waking up to how currency is created, and people being outraged about it, as they should. So now what you got is you got the suppliers of central banks and governments who, I'd have to say, realize how much of a fraud it really is, but they do it anyway. See, they're supplying this currency, but what is it that they demand? Yes, they are demanding your loan, but it seems as if to me that they are demanding the enslavement factor of the people within this type of system. Therefore, what do demanders not want? They don't want supply to be so low that they really can't get it. So if the suppliers of people wanting to be slaves is eliminated, then how's that going to be good for the demanders? It ain't going to be good. So there's one example right there. Then you got suppliers as in companies, corporations, and let's just assume that you're a big CEO or you're an owner of a company and you had no idea about this stuff until just now. And you're like, holy crap, what a bad system this is. No wonder everyone's suffering and no wonder everyone's on food stamps. Geez, I can see this one. Okay, so now you might say to yourself, okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take half or whatever percentage of my fiat investments and turn it into gold and silver. So at that moment, they would take currency in the hold position and thus become suppliers of currency and demanders of precious metals. That would take place. Then within the business, they might be saying, geez, do I really want to demand currency for my sale? You know what? I really don't want to. I know we got these legal tender laws and everything, but at some point you just got to say to yourself, when laws are designed to destroy the human race, screw it kind of deal. That's some of the things I would expect to be done during this type of scenario. And well, an example is if you go to, say, many different businesses right now, Walmarts, even mom and pops, see if they'll demand anything but currency. Maybe they'll take international currency, but not throw that aside. It'd be hard pressed to get anyone to demand anything but a currency. Okay, so now you got the suppliers and the people. They're going to want to get rid of their supply, obviously, because it's like hazardous, to say the least. Excuse me. Okay, second one is demanders. So now you have these banks who are demanding your loans. And maybe a lot of them might pay it back. But if what they demand becomes no good to them at some point, then why again are you going to demand it? But next one, like I say, businesses are not going to demand it. You're going to start to see the human race say, screw that, I don't want it. So when the demand is so low for something, well, think of it this way. Let's use another example. Let's just say nobody wanted apples. For whatever reason, hypothetically speaking, nobody wanted apples. And normally they would sell for $1 an apple. Well, now if nobody wants them, then they're selling for 5 cents an apple or 20 times cheaper. Therefore, if nobody wants currency, that means this one piece of paper of currency would normally get you 1 silver coin. But if I'm trying to, but now all of a sudden I'm going to need 20 pieces of paper for that silver coin. What that means again is that it would be majorly inflationary. Consumers of currency during the situation. Well, that's as simple as, well, maybe you have this nice little place outside, you take a bunch of currency and you throw it in the middle. And then you take a gallon of gasoline, which is in hold, and then you dump it on there, you're consuming it. And then you take a pack of matches and you strike it, you take the fire, you throw it in there, you just consume the matches because they're no good anymore, and then you have a nice little bonfire. Types of things that may happen during the situation, but that's the only way you can actually consume currency, is the deletion of the supply. That doesn't happen really that much for the most part. The holders, you got everyone getting out, flurrying to get out, yet nobody really wants it. So again, that's so hyperinflationary. Fencers, that's where you're like on the fence. Should I get into currency? Should I get out of currency? Well, you're going to have a lot of people on the fence. Should I get out? And that will take place. And then the leavers, exiters, that just goes without saying. And there are people that are demanding better currencies. And that's why we got these new virtual and crypto type of currencies. I'm not going to say the names of them. And so they have demanded that, and there has been those who supply it. Now, these ones I find extremely opaque. That's the opposite word of transparent. It's absolutely not transparent. Again, this is my opinion or from my research, which is why I have absolutely no demand for those virtual currencies. I am nowhere near a fencer of those currencies as well. Personally, what I would be in demand for is a gold silver backed system. But why people like those in cryptocurrencies is they can make trades very easily, anonymously, whereas you can't do that with gold and silver. But I say why not? If I wanted to send somebody in the Philippines or anywhere out far, far away some gold or silver, and I want to have an exact amount. Say, technically speaking, this person makes a trade for whatever product and he's like, okay, I want 3.1745 grams of silver. How in the world am I going to give him that exact number? Even if I have the equipment to do it, it's going to be almost impossible. But if there was like a bank system for gold and silver, then it actually could work. But my demand would only be for an honest monetary system, honest banking system, and that would be it. And that's just my personal wants. Everybody has their own personal demands, their own personal supplies that are different from one another, but we're currently in a system and it's all based on currency. Now, if you were to ask people, why do you demand currency so much? Because we have to and all that stuff. It's because the reason why you think you have to is because you haven't thought outside of the box of different ways of being able to get away from this kind of system. So that'll be it for this particular video. I hope you found this informative and helpful. If you did, or if you find it informative or helpful for other people, please comment and thumbs up this video. It would be very helpful and grateful for me. And take care. Bye-bye.